All right, so you pull up to the home, you don't linger too long, get up to the front door, knock,
Yep.
back up, all that good stuff. They invite you into the home. What do you do to kind of set the tone for the rest of the call, to kind of make that early connection? Is it a simple
Yeah.
compliment? Are there certain go-to questions you always like to fall back on? What do you do?
I kind of let it happen organically.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's from COVID or what, but I've arrived on calls and people, if they're not on a Zoom call actively,
Right.
have actually seemed a little more social than
Interesting.
usual.
Yeah.
I'll just say, hey, I'm Danielle with Burek, especially if it's a first-time customer, ask if I'm parked okay. And then preface what the call is. It looks like I'm here for a no heat, just start kind of asking my questions gently. Um, you know, has it happened before? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And based off of their answers, that's when I'll find something to kind of, I don't want to say dig into, but
Yeah.
to that degree.
Interject something.
Yeah. 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 Just like, oh, you're a new homeowner. When did you move in? Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is your first breakdown. So you probably don't know the age of your system, stuff like that. And I've really connected with people because I became a new homeowner during 2022. So, just talking about how crazy the market was, stuff like that, the process that they went through, and just kind of let it go from there.
Does that happen in the doorway, or do you go ask to kind of sit down somewhere or stand somewhere?
You know, I will say a lot of people will lead me to the system.
Right.
I don't
You're the
stop them.
technician. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't stop them. Sometimes I will just say, oh, before you lead me all the way down there, do you mind showing me where the thermostat is?
What?
So that I don't have to make you come all the way back upstairs, and show me after that. But I don't stop people from doing that because I know that's what I'm there for. And if that's what they're most comfortable with, a lot of times during conversation, we might stop somewhere midway and just keep talking. And,
Yeah.
so I let the customer kind of take the lead, and,
Sure.
and that kind of, for the most part, seems to relax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, what other, you start going through some of the questions, we have like I guess you're there for the repair calls. So you're not at
Correct.
that point.
Yeah.
So so kind of talk about the process. So if it's, say, a no heat call, let's start with one of them. What's your process? You look at the system and you kind of find out what the problem is.
Right.
Well, I'm assuming the homeowner goes at that point, right?
Mhm.
Will you go to him or her to come back to see maybe if you have a component that you can show that's broken, or what? How do you manage that?
I love bringing the customer to the system if they're able.
Yeah.
Because when you have it right there in front of you, it's so much easier. Like, especially if it's, say, like a gas furnace, I can just say a very simple breakdown of like, this leads to this, leads to this. And we broke down here, and that's just why it's not turning on. And then kind of explaining the process. And then that's where I'll lead into, oh, I notice you are using this type of filter. Does anyone in the home have allergies? So that's when I'll start kind of planting those seeds of like, let's think of more of what's the immediate problem, and just kind of go through the entire system in its whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. And so they say, oh man, look at that broken cord, whatever.
Yeah.
And what's your next step? You're like, okay, I just wanted to let you know what's going on. At what point do you kind of bring up, maybe this is a good opportunity to think about replacement? Do you let them bring it up to you, or do you bring it up sometime?
If they don't bring it up, I will bring it up. It's all going to be age-based in the breakdown. So if it's something a little more serious, let's say the inducer motor breaks down, then that's when I'm saying, oh, this kind of is a large factor to the system's operation. And, if your furnace is 19 years old, honestly, with the supply chain issues we're having, if we can even get the part, it's going to be a little on the pricier side. So let's kind of like, let's talk through every single option that we have available to you, because knowledge is power, and you're not going to feel comfortable with whatever decision you make until you have all of the information in front of you. So that's where we might kind of run all of the facts and figures per se. And then, of course, like a lot of people might ask what my recommendation is, and I will always give that. If it seems like a very obvious thing, I would just say, I think this is going to be the best move for you.
Right.
Because certain breakdowns, you don't know the full operation of the system until that part's replaced, and it's much more of a risk. So making them aware of the risks with, one option versus another option.
How much will you go into when you're finding, I don't know, you've got a bad compressor? But do you try to avoid? I should probably, excuse me, try to rephrase it. I'm sure you try to avoid tech talk, right? You want to.
Yeah.
Do you try? There are certain analogies that you use all the time to explain what some of these components are. I mean, do you have any examples you share with people?
Sure. I love finding out the profession of whomever I'm in the house with.
Yeah.
Because we do have in the area that we are in, like the greater DC area, there are a ton of engineers and like really, really like well-educated people. Sure. So sometimes the tech talk is preferred, depending on the person. But like, for example, I was in the house of a nurse, and the compressor did go. So it was kind of a perfect example. So explaining that the compressor is essentially the heart of the system, moving the refrigerant like blood throughout, and when that fails, that can be a very, very temperamental breakdown. Because, it's one of those things that, can you do something to repair a heart?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're involving other risks.
Yeah.
So using tons of metaphors is like something that I love. I love learning new metaphors that other technicians use to explain parts.
Right.
So yeah, and kind of gearing it toward the knowledge base that the customer has.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what I love doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. How do you communicate? That's really bad without scaring them, or you want to be the scare tactic person,
right?
But it's something concerned.
Yeah, so especially when it comes to like a heat exchanger, if I am using my carbon monoxide meter, I mean, I do with every furnace call.
Yeah.
But I will show them, because it'll show the active reading and then the max reading during the time that it's on. And if it's something like I had one that was 68 parts per million, well, that's that's past the point that we want to be, but it's not lethal levels.
Right.
In explaining the different increments of, this is your safe zone, this is what I've called the warning zone, and then this is where we turn off the gas line. You are above that. I just want to let you know I'm shutting off the gas line. It's your prerogative if you turn it back on, but please do know this is well documented on my invoice. And just letting them know it's not lethal, but it's unsafe.
Yeah.
And just, I say this, I've said it once, I'll say this again, and I've said it in most of my customers' houses. Knowledge is power, and comfort comes from knowledge.
I'm always intrigued. We talked about like a repair call, a tune-up that leads to a placement.
Yeah.
So such a hard turn, and it doesn't happen obviously all the time. But
right.
How do you first of all, how do you make your tune-up stand out? I've heard different. Is there a way? Is something you do, or is it your approach? I've heard people take apart the system and lay it out so it's like you're performing a surgery. Do you have a certain process you like to follow?
I mean, we do use the system performance reports.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have found comfort in, some really love the numbers, like I said. Yeah. Some people just love seeing that line of all greens, all the green check boxes. Walking people through as much or as little. And that's probably what makes our tune-up stand out is, hey, you want to sit down for 15 minutes and go over everything?
Right.
Let me, I'll bring the capacitor to you and show you what the reading is today. I'll take pictures. We're going to have everything documented on the invoice so that moving forward, we can track, the progress or, like the breakdowns, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't like taking systems apart and showing everything. But yeah, it's just the tracking that our customers like.
How do you turn? Say someone calls that's bought the house or whatever. You got a 15-year-old, bad equipment. It's
true.
Bad.
Yeah,
and they don't know. All they know is they got to get it serviced, but they don't have any expectation we're talking replacement.
Right.
So how's that conversation? And when you go down there and you walk down with, this is Jones, whatever, you're like, it's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's 30 years old, whatever.
Right.
I'm sure you've come upon. How do you handle that conversation where you start going, this might be something to think about?
Yeah, that's that unfortunately did happen in the last year and a half pretty frequently with just the housing market with people foregoing the inspections.
Mm.
So again, that's when I'm gonna say, do you mind coming to the system with me? I just want to show you the age of the system. And I've gone through every aspect of the system's operation. Here are the pain points of its operation, or it's not working at all, and then going into why it's not working, if it is catastrophic level, just having to be gentle, bringing that up, especially because a lot of people really did kick themselves for not having the inspection done.
Yeah.
And I don't want to add to that stress.
Sure.
I kind of try to minimize just being like, yeah, this is unfortunately something that needed to be looked at, but just saying it is going to be time for replacement.
Yeah.
I am sorry. There's the money that you would put into this, you're throwing good money at a bad investment. And the amount that it would cost to keep this system running, that's a good chunk of money that could go into the peace of mind of a new system with a 10-year parts warranty, 10-year labor warranty, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it's not something you have to think about for a while.
Do you bring up the seat of financing to offer some?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. All the time.
Do you utilize the true cost calculator?
Not true cost. I use HVAC op cost.
Okay.
So we'll talk about the repairs and I'll ask them how long they think the system will last if those repairs are done. I won't particularly use a true cost, but I know it's something I wanted to incorporate,
Yeah.
but I'm like, if I'm using one, the other,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too many numbers involved. So the HVAC op cost has actually been really beneficial for me in how I approach situations.
Casey, you use that just like on a tune-up call where it's an older system that's not
Yes.
functioning. Okay.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, I don't care what you use, but
Right.
you can show people you're really probably saving money over the long haul.
Oh,
A new system that's highly efficient versus your
There's-
30-year-old box.
I went over it with a customer actually about a week ago,
Mhm.
and his system was very old,
Mhm.
and putting in that system's information and the actual cost savings over the lifespan was more than the system itself cost. And he was just like, "Well, this is a no-brainer."
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, yeah, of course I'm going to do that. This is my forever home, so I'd rather make that investment.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Just kind of in wrapping up,
Mhm.
what motivates you to be a high achiever? I mean, you've done a lot in a short period of time. You've really
Yeah.
grown as a person in this industry. What's driven you to do as much as you've done in a short time?
Honestly, that's I feel like a super loaded question because I love being able to do something where I'm also providing opportunities for others.
Yeah.
So through the company growing, we all grow.
Yeah.
I like to know what everyone's personal goals are. Without getting too far into it, just like the more the company grows, if everyone's willing to grow with it, we're all going to have so many more opportunities to do more with our own personal lives.
Yeah.
Nick Jr. and I, we both were like, we're at that age. We want to buy houses.
Sure.
We hustled. We are both homeowners.
Yeah.
So there's,
Sure.
it's really, really rewarding, seeing others, like through like the combined work of both of us achieve so much together. So I'm just, trying to help like inspire the rest of the team. Our installers do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And we're just getting better and better by the day. So, just building one another up and just, knowing that we're going to do the impossible.
That's
Yeah.
great. Last question. What advice might you have for another newer technician in his or her journey in this trade?
Don't get frustrated. You are going to mess up. We all do. And you just need to find a company that you fit in, that when you mess up, it's okay. You're going to mess up. It's all good.
Yeah.
And when you start, or when you're messing up less and less, everybody's getting happier and happier, right? So just have patience with yourself. Things happen, and the world's going to keep turning.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for all your time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on the show.